The modern family. The modern family. Let us bridge the gap between generations. Let us shape up the modern family.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, all praise be to Allah, the Master of the Day of Judgment, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear listeners, welcome to your show, The Modern Family. I'm your host, Hatim Al-Absalam, and joining me is
Wa'il Harrasi.
And today we have another controversial topic. Today, Dr. Wa'il, we're going to talk about emotions and anger in children. I just wanted to ask you, Dr. Wa'il, maybe in the past, this topic have never appeared in the older generation, and maybe there's a lot of discussions on WhatsApp and social media about emotions, and some people think that maybe we're exaggerating and we want to turn our kids into softies. What do you think?
Well, I totally agree with you, but before going into that, I was just thinking that I really like the tune before we start. I like the tune for the program.
It sounds sad.
Yes, I'm not trying to blow our own trumpet here, but I think the show is good so far, if you want my own feedback. And I don't know about the listeners, please give us your feedback. Coming back to this issue, yes, it's the social media is taking this topic and talking about it a lot, but not in a very serious tone, more in a very funny, comic way. There are a lot of messages in WhatsApp going around and talking about, look at these young kids today. They have all these gadgets and they have everything to satisfy them just because we don't want to hurt their feelings. We don't want to punish them. We don't want to say anything to them just in case they don't develop a psychological, mental disease or whatever.
Yeah.
We were kicked daily, slapped, slammed. And alhamdulillah, I think we turned out really well.
I think so.
And you might be in the back of a pickup tied up with a goat or something. Nowadays you have DVDs in the cars.
Yeah.
But
and nothing happened to our emotions.
Yes, and I think the controversy is between the generations, our generation and our parents. And I think they are right in some way. I'm totally in the dark in this issue, and we would like to really learn from our guests today and create a balance. I think there is a good thing in both.
That's why we want to throw the ball into her court and let her do all the talking today. Our distinguished guest today is Sayyida Basma bint Fakhri Al-Saeed, who is a psychotherapist and the owner of Serenity. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah.
It's nice to have you again on the show.
Yes, it's nice to be back. It's actually an exciting show. Besides the song in the beginning.
And today we have trapped you with this topic, and we'll let you do all the talking. So,
yeah. And you just said you're going to throw the football into my court, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, do you know that I'm a very good goalkeeper?
Oh, mashallah.
So I'm going to save my... No,
okay.
Not really, I'm just saying, but yeah, I'm going to save my goalkeeper. Psychological goalkeeper is different.
We'll let the listeners decide at the end of the show, inshallah. To start off, what do we know about emotions in our children and teenagers?
So, as you said, when we were younger, it wasn't like the case of, let's look after the emotions of this child, and this. I just want to say the story because I might forget it. I had a relative of mine who is younger than me, and I remember one day I saw him sitting in a room in the corner. I went to visit them, and then I asked him, Fulan, why are you sitting in the corner? What are you waiting for? He told me, I'm waiting for my father to come and tell me sorry because he upset me. And I cannot forget this because I laughed my head off. And I was very young at the age, but I just thought, poor boy is going to wait forever. Nobody's going to come and tell you sorry. But you see how kids, because they learn in school, they learn the stories and all that teaches emotion. So when they come home and they don't see it, this is where they get really,
confused.
Yeah, very confused. But emotions are obviously very important. And a lot of times we hear that this person doesn't have emotions because he didn't live in a house that had emotions. So it must be some kind of effect. And as much as you young gentlemen feel your lives have been very, very well, I'm sure there is some flashbacks that sometimes hit your head, and that doesn't mean you're affected or not, but it hasn't got deleted.
Please, I'll start crying now.
So as long as things have happened, it will stay in our head, but it depends how we deal with it in the long run.
That's the thing. There are a lot of events that happened into our life at an early stage, and we don't remember them.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain events that maybe hurt us in a particular way, that we remember them until the day we die.
Yeah, definitely. That it's. I mean, you're human. Sometimes we look up some things in the back of our head, but then sometimes we see something and we think, oh, you get a weird flashback, and then it reminds you of stuff. So it's still there.
One classic,
just hidden.
One classic flashback is when you are told, "Go get ready, and we'll wait for you outside. We're going out. Go and get ready."
Yeah.
While you're taking a shower, you hear the engine starts, and off they go.
And you get shocked. What? They left me? They did it? I remember, I think I was being naughty, maybe in the car or something. I don't remember. For the benefit of my dad, I'll say I was being naughty. And then he said, if you don't stop, I'm gonna drop you off here, and you're gonna walk home. And I was like, okay, drop me off. And my dad actually did drop me off, and he went a little bit. I was like, oh, I should have said that, but he came back again. So there is a lot of things that you kind of remember. And being a mom now, and seeing how I'm teaching my daughter emotions and all that, because being a psychotherapist, I actually have to as well. So it's given a very funny feedback. Maybe within this conversation, I'll talk about that part too, because it's very interesting.
Just to continue and elaborate more on this question, from your own experience in your clinic, what do you think? How aware are we as a society of emotions in children?
Yes. That's a very important question, actually. I get a lot of mothers coming and saying, I don't know why she's always angry. She has tantrums, and tantrum starts from like 2 years old, or even younger than that. And she just cries all the time. He just cries all the time, and I don't know what he wants, and it's so difficult. There's a technique I usually do with my little clients, is I get a drawing of a little man, and there's colors, yellow, blue, and each color is something, an emotion. So it's either jealousy or happiness, and I ask them to color in this little boy's body, where do you feel happiness? And for example, he'll feel it in his heart, so he'll color the heart part. Where do you feel, in the hand? So, and then we talk about it, and I tell the mother, the thing is, he's crying because he can't express actually his emotion. He doesn't know what's wrong with him. So when I come to teach him happy, jealousy, upset, he can actually say what's wrong with him instead of just cry all the time. And this is the training that you start teaching your child, and it helps a lot. Instead of them just going, and they don't know. They don't even know sometimes where they've forgotten what the reason was, and they're just continuing.
So just basically enhance their vocabulary. Would teach them how to express their feelings rather than use loud noises or crying. Definitely.
And this is where I'll tell you about my daughter. I've taught her, if you're upset, say I'm upset. If I'm sad, say I'm sad, I'm angry, these emotions. And it's been working well. It has been going the other way around. So when I tell her, to do something, she says, no, because I'm very upset now. And I think, oh no, I shouldn't have taught her that part. But at least there's a dialogue. At least you're upset. So why are you upset? Because of this. Sometimes they don't even know why they're upset. They're just upset. Like when they're very tired. They always cry, but they don't know why they're crying. Are you tired? Are you upset? So you can teach them. It does give you a feedback sometimes in the way maybe you won't want it, but at least it's better than the shouting and the crying. And even when they're happy, sometimes they just go with their hands, they squeeze their hands and they jump up and down, and they scream even. So it's different when they say, yes, I'm happy because of, so teaching them these vocabularies, as you said, does help a lot. This doesn't mean that we're making them softies or we're making them, philosophical little children, but it actually helps in communicating with them.
Is it about them being philosophical or us being very impatient and probably not ready to get an answer back from a child,
That's very
not
true.
expecting the child to say, "I'm angry now."
Yes, and not wanting to hear that right
Yes,
now, and
yes.
feeling that's rude. How could she, in the long time ago, you can't tell your dad, "I'm angry now." You'll see anger in another way. But now I guess it's a bit different. Yes, we are impatient. I mean, we sit all our lives wanting our children to talk when they're little. When are they going to talk? When are they going to talk? And then, mashallah, they start talking like, oh, when are they going to go quiet? When are they going to go quiet? So it's us being impatient and wanting a lot of stuff at the same time.
Should we worry when our children go to the silent mode?
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't express any emotions or any anger, they're just quiet.
Yes, so that's called selective
Creepy
mutism.
quiet.
Yeah, selective mutism, and a lot of children have that. A lot of children will go to school, not talk at all, but they'll be very clever in answering, questions and writing, but they don't want to talk. They don't want to communicate. They'll come home, they'll only talk to one person at home. I had the story where the child was only talking to the maid and nobody else. She was only talking to her nanny. She didn't want to talk to anyone until she was like a bit older, then she started talking. So again, it depends. Sometimes they just don't want to communicate for something that has upset them. Sometimes we have to look deeper. If it's sudden, that means something has happened and they don't know how to explain.
Are there any barriers that keep parents away from their children? Is there a gap?
For what? If they're
For
not
communication.
If they don't.
What are the reasons that will create this gap or barrier between the child not to talk to their parents?
Some children are very, very emotional, so they'll take it as in they're upset and they don't want to talk anymore. Some children are a little bit spoiled, so they won't want to talk anymore. Some children from fear, you'd notice maybe sometimes, I don't want to generalize, but sometimes the child will be scared to talk to the father, but will talk to the mother, or the other way around. But then it's selective, right? She feels, if I don't talk to him, maybe I won't be in trouble.
But there is a reason. I mean, it doesn't just come out like that they choose. Children are intelligent, and even from a very early stage. I have a girl. She's 5 months old, and thank you very much. Shukran. Allah barak hayatak. Yes. Now, the reason I'm mentioning her is that when she's hungry, she knows exactly who to be with.
Yeah.
She always likes to be with me, but when she's hungry, because I've never fed her, she doesn't want to be with me.
Yeah.
She would cry and she would see her mom and she would want to be with her, because she's the one who's been feeding her.
Yeah.
So, and that at very early stage, the child is already being able to make a judgment and select who is the best person to be with now. When I need this, I need my mom. Okay.
Yeah.
When I'm full, I know I can be with dad because he can't take care of me.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, but it depends, I must say. There is some fathers who are very, very hands-on, and a baby that young is like, what's important for her is to be fed.
Yeah.
It's not really about even emotions at that age. It's like feed, change diaper, sleep. Really, that's what's happening. So even the smell, she knows from the smell who is who, actually. It's even the smell. But if you were to be giving her food, consistently, you will find her adapting to you as well.
I know that
at that age.
This is what I'm saying, that they are very intelligent and they know exactly who to be with according to their needs. So when they grow up, they know that if they speak to their father, he will listen, or they speak to the mother, she would listen, and somebody
they know
who would
who
not
to
listen.
speak to at which time.
Yes. If both parents are listening, that they would be comfortable talking to either of them.
That's true. That's true. And they know when not to talk. If the father is upset or has just come back from work, for example, if they're very intelligent children, they will not talk to them at that time. They will talk to them afterwards. Even there's this thing where fathers, when you start like telling your father, for example, "Oh, I love you, father," and then your father says, "What do you want?" What is going on? There's something. So there is techniques and things that you do learn as you grow up. As much as they are studying you as a child, you're also studying them as a parent.
Sometimes we label our children as being emotionless, or they don't have emotion, or they're cold.
Yes.
And we think that whatever we say to the child, no effect happens. So can anyone have a life like that without having any emotions? Does it exist?
There's something called emotional intelligence, and these things are actually infused in a child sometimes from birth. There is obviously those one-off things where a child actually has this kind of feature where he's very serious, he's just like that. And sometimes mothers and fathers will be like shocked, why is this kid like this and the others are not? Here you just have to keep on trying and not ignore that this child is like this. Even though it might be a feature in him, but he needs to understand that this is not a feature that will help him as he grows up. But when we also say a child is emotional, we have to think also what is the environment of this child? How was it? For example, children who have had a very harsh environment, who have lived in a very harsh life, they will grow up, being emotionless. They will grow up just thinking, how do I get to eat? How do I get money? That kind of, so it depends also on the environment. And what has been going on, in their life. Like we always say, people who have worked in the army, they're very tough and harsh, but it's because of the environment and the training that they got as well.
Okay. What are the emotions associated with each gender or age group?
So when some people would think that men and boys get angrier more than girls. I would say I don't think there is that much difference. Again, it goes back to how they were brought up. It goes back to how the environment was. Sometimes women or girls could get very angry. They could be very quiet, but when they get angry, they get extremely angry. So
Tell me about it.
You know about it? So then it's not just about gender as well. Now age, you said as well, right?
Yes.
Usually tantrums and things like that start before being a teenager. Now we usually try and fix it before they get to the age of being a teenager, because when it gets to that age, it's kind of difficult to change, a child or a human. So before that is always better. And if it's not, it gets even worse at that age. Now teenagers have a totally different criteria when it comes to anger and emotions and all that, because they are going through a phase where they're not kids and they're not adults. They're stuck in the middle. So you'll find some people telling them, come on, grow up, you're not a child anymore. And at the same time, you'll find other people telling them, you're still young, you shouldn't be sitting here. So it's a very, very hard age for a teenager. And a lot of people just keep on saying, those teenagers. It's not a syndrome. It's not a sickness, being a teenager. It's just a way you have to understand what they're actually going through. And once you do, they're amazing. Once you can actually, crack that code, basically.
What are the main emotions associated with young children? What are the most visible ones and most common ones amongst children? If we divide it into different age groups, let's say from birth till 4, and then from 4 to 7. What are the most common ones? Just to educate myself and the listeners.
I guess the most common ones would be frustration. So
the negative ones.
Yep.
Okay.
Frustration could be negative and also could be a positive, actually, in a weird way. Yeah, because sometimes you're frustrated because you don't know how to do something, so that doesn't mean it's negative.
Okay.
And sometimes you're frustrated because you're just like a frustrated person, I guess. So frustration. Another emotion obviously will be anger. Now, when you say below 4, and then about anger is from when they're babies, they get angry, they want to eat, so they get angry, for example. You even see little kids when they're very small, they actually do a fist when they get very, very angry, and it looks very cute, but it's actually a lot of anger for a little child, to push through their little fists. Some of them stamp their feet. So
bang
these
their
are
heads.
Yeah, some of them go to extreme, measures to actually bang their head. So we've got frustration, we've got anger. If these are the negative, you would say the anger is negative, basically. But then we have to think all these things have a positive part. We seem to always think that most of the things are negative, but every negative has some positive in it. And have a reason.
That it's an indication for something.
Exactly.
So let's say if they cry, maybe they're hungry or they need to be changed.
Yeah. And that's why we feel more happier when the children start talking.
Yeah.
Because when they're, little babies, you're like, what do they want? I just fed her, or I just changed her. What is it that she wants now? Maybe she just wants to be hugged, or maybe she just has gases. But when she's older, she can actually say. And how amazing will it be when she can actually explain? So this is what we want to, get to, this part where you can explain. And learning emotions at a young age can really help you through your life, because you learn how to explain and you don't feel shy. Like when you're in class, you won't be like, if somebody did something to you, you won't be like, I won't say, I'm scared or I'm shy. You'll actually have a way of expressing in a very healthy way.
What about jealousy
Mm-hmm.
as an emotion, and how does it grow? How does it change from one age group to the other?
Mm-hmm. Now, jealousy is also a feature that could be in a person. It's not something, it's something that you could be actually even born with. Some people have a high rate of jealousy, and some people have a normal kind of jealousy. Now, with little kids, some of them would have jealousy even between, if they see their mom and dad together, they'll want to be with the mom more. For example, you see this a lot with little girls, for example, they want to be with their dad. Some of them don't even want the mom to be around. So that's another, like possessive, I want my dad. So that's jealousy. Jealousy with siblings.
It reminds me with my daughter. She's almost 8.
MashaAllah.
And whenever I buy her mother a gift and she says, "Where's mine?"
Yes, because they don't differentiate at the time.
Yeah, they don't differentiate.
Yes, it's very interesting and it's cute until it becomes extreme, obsessive. Then it becomes scary. For example, also jealousy from siblings. Jealousy from cousins, friends. So it can escalate. The only thing we can do is just make them understand. Yes, you're jealous. It's a normal reaction. I get jealous too. This kind of conversation. And as a parent, don't ever just make the children feel that they only get this. And you've been a very good child when you were young. You were an A student, all this stuff. No, make them understand from stories from your life that you also went through things like this. And that makes them, very interested. They'll actually be shocked and go, "You too? You also get sad? You also get happy?" They always think that we're totally different from them.
Yeah, totally immune from doing mistakes
exactly.
or being emotional.
That's true.
Do children have fake emotions? It means when they want something, they will fake that personality or that emotion in that time to get what they want.
Children, again, are very clever. Okay, they're taught from a very young age, if you're a good child, you get sweets and toys. If you're a naughty child, you won't. So we were talking about punishment reward last time. This is something continuation. So they know exactly how to manipulate and get things, because they have studied you as well. So there is crying, and there is a way, sometimes they tell you, if a child is crying and not looking at you, that sometimes it could be that they're actually, making it up. But if they actually look at you directly into your eyes, it's real, okay? There's also, even in little babies, I read a book about the tone of crying. The kinds of crying. There's a tone that actually is for food, a tone is for anger, and a tone is for I think it's called Dr. Spook. I don't remember. But at the time I actually monitored, and it actually was true. So there's a lot of things going on, new studies that obviously if we tell our grannies or our granddads or even our family, they'll be like, whatever, you cry, you want to eat, you cry, you're hurt. So these things are not applicable a long time ago.
I'll get a shoe thrown at me.
So yes, they do. To answer your question, they do.
Are there any risks that come along when we ignore the emotions of our children?
There's a big risk, yes. Because, sometimes we want to teach them that when we talk to you, you listen to me, right? But at the same time, when they talk, we ignore them. So how is the balance here? What are we teaching them, basically? And a lot of times you will feel when you're talking to your partner or someone, and then suddenly your child wants to talk in the middle, and it bothers, right? And you have to actually explain. You have to wait, and then when we finish, we'll talk to you, for example. So imagine if they're talking to you and you're like shopping, or you're like, shh, I don't want to listen now. You just ignore them. Imagine the frustration that's built. And then imagine them telling you in the future, you never listen to me when I talk. This is a very classical subject or words that a teenager would use. You don't understand me. You don't listen to me. You don't give me time. So these are things that they do. It does grow. And they could say, you've never, with kids it's always, you've never. You've never brought me toys. You've never given me toys. It's not a balance. So yes, it does grow, and it's a very big thing if you ignore them.
We talked about different age groups and their emotions. What about genders? Boys and girls. How different are their emotions, or how different do they express their emotions? It's probably the difference is only in the way they express, but the emotions are the same. How can we as parents know how to deal with them?
What you said, Dr. Wael, is very important, because many times we think that boys don't have emotions.
Yes.
So, for example, when they cry, we ask them not to cry, so that they
teach them not to have emotions.
They don't become like girls.
Yes. And especially in our communities, it's even more like, don't. And you'll find even they grow up and they don't want, like, for example, I don't know how my children will be, but I've seen this with other mothers. They take their child to school since they're kids, little boys, right? As they grow up, and then suddenly they become, Mommy, don't come too close. My friends will see. Just hide yourself behind the tree or something and drop me off. So it changes, with boys, and it's because of how we infuse, your boys, tomorrow you shall be men. This kind of pushing.
You'll be tough.
Yes, and then we infuse in the girl, you have to be soft, you have to be delicate, and then she becomes too soft, too delicate. She can't even face the world afterwards. Although I must say, I said, just because I'm an Omani woman as well, that they do face very well outside the world. But yes, to answer your question with emotions, let me ask you a question. You, both of you, I'm a woman here and you two are men. Yeah. We can go back to that subject of men and women not liking women to nag, men feel that women talk too much, all of that. So this answers your question as gender. We are learned since we're young, since we're little girls, we like being like our moms. So we'll do tea parties, we'll invite people in our imaginary world and all that. What do boys do? They play with their fight figures and they play alone, right? Yeah. So again, you see, they don't talk much from when they're young. There is some kids, obviously some boys would, but mostly they're very internal. Yeah. And the girls are very external. Obviously there is some girls who aren't, so we can't just say 100%. But yes, boys they don't show that much emotions like girls do. So it's genetic as well.
Is it fair to say that women are more extrovert than children, than boys?
Yes,
boys are more.
They are, but we will not generalize. Okay. But they are.
Maybe they exhibit more extrovert features, like talking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But is that a fair age where we could decide whether extrovert or introvert children?
Mm-hmm. If you have
and maybe probably you could first explain to our listeners what is the difference between extroverts and introverts.
Okay, so extrovert is more, make it very easy, outside. Okay, so out. So you talk, you express, it's all out there.
You socialize.
Introvert is inwards, so it's all inside. You're quiet, you don't socialize, you're inside yourself. Okay, so
could be very intelligent, but it's all in there. You could discuss a lot of items, but only in your own mind.
So you don't express it, but you could express it in different ways, in writing or something like that. Let me ask you a question now. Do you have a boy and a girl?
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you feel the difference is when they go to school and they come back? Who talks about school more? Who doesn't?
My daughter.
Yes. How about you?
She's 5 months old.
Oh, she's a bit too young. But you'll see her. But I've noticed that girls will come back and tell you, we learned this nursery rhyme, we learned this lesson, and I did this today, and then the boy will be like, what'd you do? Nothing. What did you do? Like yesterday, and you start worrying, is this boy actually learning stuff or what's going on?
I used to be worried. My son, my second child, he came home once and said, okay, my routine was, okay, I will ask them what they did at school immediately when they come back, because I used to work shifts in the desert, 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be there at home waiting for them as soon as they come in.
Yeah.
Okay, Al-Mukhtar, what did you learn today? Can you ask me later, please?
They don't have that kind
They don't have time for that. He
Yes.
said, okay. I said, no. Go and ask my mom. She knows.
She knows. She'll brief you.
Yeah, she'll brief you.
Yeah, but look, and again, we can't generalize. I have twins, and one of them actually likes telling me what's going on, and one just feels bored with life. So it's really, we can never generalize.
I like that expression.
Bored with life. So it's very interesting how things work out.
Okay, I think it's time for a short break. But before we go to a break, we'd like to remind our listeners of our number. You can always call us and tell us what you think of today's show. Our number is 24602058. That's 24602058. Let's go for a break.
The Modern Family.
I only had one child. You're very protective of your first child. Then the second and third comes along, and then you mix up their names. Right? Hey, you. Kareem, Husna, number 4. Or were you 3? Which one? Just get away from there. You go through the extended family's names before you get their name right. But My daughter, my eldest, when she was in preschool, she goes to preschool, she comes home one day, and she's like 3.5, 4 years old. She comes home, she goes to me, Abba, Yusuf is so funny. There's some kid named Yusuf in the class. He saw him, I was like, who's Yusuf? Tell me everything you know. Who's Yusuf? And my wife saw it from a corner of her eye. And she goes, Naman, can I talk to you for a second? And I came over and said, what is it? She goes, you stay quiet. And she took her, and then my wife talked to me later, she said, listen, you don't think your child can see that you're getting upset? I was like, yeah, I'm sure she could. If she sees that you're getting upset, next time, when it comes to telling you anything about what happens in class, will she open her mouth or keep it shut? She'll keep it shut. She won't say anything. She's going to hide things from you. And it'll be your fault. Because you look like you got upset. It's entirely your fault. You can't close that door on her. You have to just listen. It's harmless. She's 3 years old, 4 years old. What's the big deal? Relax, calm down. And you know, as a Muslim father, you have to kind of get trained into calming down.
The Modern Family.
Welcome back. We were just talking about anger and emotions. Tell us, Sayyida Basma, are there any types of anger? Different types of anger?
Yeah, there's 4 types of anger that have been found out recently. I don't know about if there is any new ones, but there is the quick anger and quick to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's quick anger and slow to forgive. There's slow anger and slow to forgive, and then the slow anger and quick to forgive.
I think that's the best one.
The best one is the last one. Obviously, the ones that are quick anger and quick to forgive, it has a certain outcome, and all the other ones below that. So sometimes when you understand what person you are as well, what kind of person are you, you'll understand what to correct as well. So if you're a person who gets angry and then slowly who forgives, you're probably a very difficult person.
Sometimes you have a certain personality where someone never gets angry,
mm-hmm.
but when they get angry, they explode.
Yes, and that is not a very healthy personality. Some people keep things inside all their lives, and then you just ask them a very easy question one day. You just tell them, for example, where's the water? And they explode.
Yeah.
And you think, what's wrong with this person? Obviously, it's not because of him being angry with you asking him where the water is, but it's because he's been holding on to so much stuff, and that was the wrong day for you to actually ask him about the water. So keeping things inside can actually make you physically sick as well. A lot of people go into mutism. A lot of people suddenly feel like their body, their hands are not moving, their legs, they just can't deal anymore because their body cannot take all the pressure of all the things that have been stuffed basically inside.
So is it healthy to ask children to be angry at times?
Being angry is not an unhealthy thing. It's a normal emotion, Being angry is something we all have to go through. I mean, people who never ever be angry, and obviously I'm saying, there's types of anger, obviously, as I said, that's not really normal. What is normal is to be angry, to be happy, to be upset, to be frustrated, because you're human. Yeah. And these are all reactions that you kind of have to go through.
But I think there's a difference between you become angry, but you hold your anger.
Yes.
And you don't expose it.
Mm-hmm. But you deal with it.
You deal with it.
You don't just swallow it.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what I meant when I said there's more than, one type. You can get angry, but you don't blow it out of proportion as well. And at the same time, if you feel you're going to do that, try and learn how to actually deal with it.
Okay.
And if you're angry at the situation, at the time, don't deal with it then. Try and calm down and then deal with it, because you cannot think at that time.
That's the advice for the teenager or the child. How can a parent deal with each type of anger you mentioned?
With their children?
Yes.
First of all, they need to know what type their child is.
Yeah,
so we don't know.
Identify the anger.
First you have to identify the anger. Then you have to talk to the child, not when they're angry at that time, later on. You can actually tell the child, you're angry now, and it depends on what age they are. I'll talk to you a little bit later. Probably they'll get even more frustrated, but just leave them cool down. And you'd be surprised. Maybe that child will even come to you and tell you why they're angry. So first identify, second communicate, and then third find solutions with the child.
What if a child, when he becomes angry, goes to bed and sleep any time of the day and would rather stay mute and not talk about it? Is it healthy to force them to speak? It is not their nature to be mute. They're very social. They're very
not
loud.
their nature. Okay.
No, they are very loud.
Okay.
Normally, they are very active, but when they are upset, they would go into their room beneath their duvet, and they would be there even for hours, and maybe they go to sleep.
Caved in.
Yeah.
I wouldn't force the child at the time. I would wait a little bit, then I would talk to the child. But I wouldn't be like, Alhamdulillah, he got angry and he went to sleep, I don't have to deal with it. You have to deal with it. But maybe not at the time. Maybe just leave him a little bit and then deal with it. Especially if it's been, suddenly he's doing this and he hasn't been doing it again. Kids try out stuff. They try out maneuvers. If this is going to work with me, I'm going to go with it. If that's going to work with me, I'm going to go with it. So if him going and covering himself, under the duvet is working for him, he'll continue doing that.
Yeah.
And if you leave him, he will continue. So you have to stop that before it evolves and becomes closing the door, evolves and becomes, I don't want to talk with it. There's a lot of things that it could get into and get worse.
As they grow in age, they would discover other ways to isolate themselves.
Especially when they get to that, as I said, the teenage age.
Yeah.
Sometimes you would have a parent who has an anger issue, and the child as well is an angry child.
Yeah.
And they both clash all the time.
Yes.
Now, for the mother, what can she do to eliminate this problem?
There's a lot of families that are like that, and the only thing that a mother can do at the time is try and basically break it up. But sometimes that could cause more damage. Some parents or some fathers get even more angry when they see a mother coming in between. So they get even more because they know now, okay, it seems that I'm doing something really not good, that this person or this woman has come in between. I think she should, if this is the case, and this is an extreme case, what I'm talking about, she should just monitor from far and try and see if she can help in any way around it. If it's going into really serious, really bad, like starting to hit each other or, God forbid, really hurt each other. But if it's a minor, a little bit lighter, and they're just arguing, she should be the person to be able to break it up. And she will know more than anyone else because she knows both personalities and how to deal with them. But I think she needs to be the one who's the peacemaker, basically.
I have a question here. We spoke about emotions and anger in children.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to ask about the same emotions and angers in parents.
Yes.
Some parents, when they see their child doing something extremely dangerous, that they have put their own lives in risk, out of sheer emotions and fear for the child, the father or the mother could be extremely anxious and turn that anxiety into anger and start even hit the child.
Yes.
I've just seen you do something that you might have just died.
Yes.
You could have died. And it is out of love.
Yes.
Out of love, but that love in that parent turns into anxiety and turns into immediate, extreme anger. And say, I would rather hit you because what could have happened to you
could have been worse.
Could have been worse. So take that. And they might
then
hit
that child
them.
gets more angry and more.
But how can we deal with this in terms of how can parents tame themselves, control this particular emotion and anger? Because it gives me the shivers sometimes to see a child on the brink of causing major harm or even kill himself. For example, a child would just run away from home onto the streets and almost being knocked over. Something like this. Or a child pushing his brother, hit his head, and probably fall unconscious. So you'd go and hit the brother and say, you could have killed your brother. And just smack him really hard.
There's a lot of factors to your story. First of all, the parents, there are two.
Yeah.
We don't know if both of them are like this. usually one is like this, gets very anxious and scared, and and one is a bit lighter, maybe. Okay, that's one factor that we'll get back to. Another factor: why is this child so angry? Why is he pushing, this other child? Why is he running away from home?
It's not probably angry. Yeah. It's just children play with each other without even thinking, and they shove each other.
But does he do all of these things?
No, I'm talking generally. I'm talking generally. The question is more about the parent.
One incident.
The question is more about the parent himself, who might see these incidents, and this is exactly how he was going to deal with it every time, with any child. Maybe one day with this child, the other day with that. It's nothing wrong with the child.
Yeah. So then the parent is the issue, basically, here in the story. The parent, basically, again, we say the parent, so hopefully the other person can actually notice that person, when they get angry or when they get worried, they go into this emotion, and they can help them out. They can point it out to them, you don't realize, but when you get angry, you get very aggressive. Okay, when you get very anxious, or you get very aggressive, and maybe if they sit with that person, not at the time, afterwards, and tell them maybe you need help, because this has got something psychological tied with it. Why is this parent, why does she react this much? Is there anything from her background that flicks in her head when she sees this? Does she worry that people will tell her, you don't look after your child, and that's why this happens to her? She worries that people will blame her if they get hurt, so without her feeling, she gets really upset. Has she got anger management problems? So there's more than one factor. And I do know a lot of parents who, when they get anxious, even not as not for children, as a person, some people, when they see their friend get hurt or something, they get really like, what's wrong with you? Couldn't you look after yourself? Because they're very worried about them. Yeah. But they have to realize that this is affecting them and that child. So it's actually doing more harm, than maybe there will be the child more than the child could have got. Maybe the hurt that the child could have gone through would have been less than, the beating that they gave them. And obviously, if it's this kind of beating, then she will go back and she'll feel really bad, because it's an anger kind of beating. It's like just to breathe out. It's like, okay, I'm so angry, I'm going to let it out. But she doesn't realize that this is what her body is doing, basically.
Okay. Now we have the issue of children with special needs.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes, or some parents would think that because this child has special needs, then they don't have emotions. They just
or maybe don't even try and discipline them. They're so worried about their emotions.
So it's the other way around.
It's the other way around. Yeah. It could be either way.
Now, children with the special needs, as their name is, they're special. They're different. So dealing with them is different. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be disciplined in a normal way, not an abnormal way. Because some people go to extreme of tying them up, very, very harsh kind of stories that I've heard. That's very scary and very sad. Although they're supposed to get a better kind of treatment. Yeah. Now, when you say that some people think they don't have emotions or don't understand their emotions, a special need child, definitely there is a link to some kind of emotion. We notice special need children usually have anger. Some of the things they have is anger, or sometimes you feel they're uncontrollable crying. But once they're hugged in a certain way, obviously not that kind of embrace of force, a certain way. Once you sit with them and you draw with them, once you sit with them and you do something they like doing, like playing or that, they will show you the emotions. So they need to be reminded of emotions, because they're taught day by day how to link. A lot of people dealt with them in the past like they were like even animals, like tying them up, and they don't know, they don't understand. They do. They definitely do. They do have a sense of understanding.
And I think parents need to educate themselves when it comes to dealing with children with special needs.
And for them it's not easy, when you think about parents with children with special needs, they go through a lot. They even need people to, it's nice if they go to workshops of stress relief, or they go to groups of other parents with children with special needs, because then they could understand it's not just them who are going through this. There's lots of other parents, and they could share experiences. So they do go through a lot, and maybe sometimes they get frustrated as well as parents, and they don't even understand, why is it happening? Why is it happening to me? What is this? Why did my child turn out like this? So these are things where we need to make them understand that, you have a special child. You're actually blessed, and God will actually bless you even more while looking after this child.
Yes. Now, what about for children who are oversensitive?
Mm-hmm.
And they cannot handle it outside their homes.
Yeah.
So some parents decide to keep them at home and not send them to school, maybe do homeschooling for them. And they find it very difficult to deal with their siblings, to deal with the environment.
That's true.
And maybe a lot of parents are not aware that there's something called oversensitive kids.
Now, obviously, as you said, there is oversensitive kids, and they just have to be taught to be a bit less oversensitive, because it will harm them in the end. And us keeping them home, homeschooling them and stuff like that, that won't help them get over being oversensitive. That will actually help them be isolated even more and living in their little world, and they won't be able to deal. So let's say they're being homeschooled, and then after they finish homeschool, what will they be homeworked, for example? They work at home. They have to go out to that environment. Yeah. And they have to get married, and they have to have children. So they just need to understand that being over emotion will actually not help you. You know, gradually bring them down, help them. But to isolate them from the world, as a lot of people, they do this thing of isolating their kids. Homeschool, it depends. Homeschool is for certain kids, but not for kids who can't socialize. Or if you keep them at home, it'll even be more, more negative effects on them.
Yes. I wanted to ask you about the memory of children for events that happen into their lives. I think at the beginning we touched about this.
Yes.
But what's the capability of the memory of a child? If an event happens when they're younger, what happens in their bodies?
Yes.
How can they remember this after many, many years?
Yeah. Let me ask you, what is the most event that you remember out of your childhood? It could be good or bad.
I remember a bad one.
A very bad one.
I remember when I was, I think, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
The doorbell rang, and as kids, we normally rush to the door to open, and I went and I opened the door, and there was a relative of ours who was an adult, and this person had mental issues.
Okay.
And the first thing that he did when I opened the door, he slapped me so bad. And somehow I tried so hard to overcome this, even as a grown up,
wasn't it?
As a grown up, I now I know that he has issues, and
okay, let me.
But I still can't take the idea out of my head that I've been slapped.
I know. Let's rewind. When that happened to you, what did your parents tell you? Did they tell you anything?
No. At that time, I did not tell my parents because I thought it was my mistake.
Okay.
Because
you shouldn't have opened the door?
When after slapping me, he said, "Don't you know how to say Salaam Alaikum?"
So you.
But I actually, he didn't. When I opened the door, he did not even give me the opportunity, the chance to say Salaam Alaikum. He just slapped me immediately, and the slap was like slapping an adult.
Yeah.
It was not, a normal slap.
Yes.
And I don't remember even a single day that my parents slapped me on my face.
Yeah.
So for me, this was an experience that
shock.
I've never been through.
Yes. Yeah. In a different scenario, if you were a child who actually went to tell your mom or your dad, it's a bit funny that you didn't tell any one of them.
No.
Usually there's one that you'll say, kind of, Mom, something happened. And then this is where, her role goes in, and she explains to you.
Yeah.
So she'll explain to you, for example, he's not well, and, he didn't mean to, whatever it was. That would actually make the event not as bad as you grow up, because you have an explanation for it.
But as a child, would you understand
what?
That if my mom explains to me and says this person is sick and this, would that justify the pain that I went through?
I think if your parents told you that this person was sick and you were 5 or 6, you would understand. Not sick, you would understand the mentally sick or physically, but you'd understand the word sick.
Yeah.
Now, if she will actually explain even more, because you could think everybody who's sick who has a fever slaps people, for example. But she has to explain a bit more. But what I want to get to here is communication.
Yeah.
Communication, the key to everything. If you had communicated to your mom, for example, that event, it would have been fixed a long time ago. Now, when we talk about memories now, there's a lot of things that probably happened to us in the past which we don't want to deal with. But something will happen and we will remember. If it's a child, if it's our own children as well. I mean, maybe now in a way you worry if your child opens the door. For example, maybe you have that kind of, that kind of glimpse. If your child runs to the door, oh, that reminds me of what happened to me. Or if somebody shouts at someone, you might remember something. So memories do come up even though you suppress them as much. That's why it's really good to deal with these things and not carry this backpack with you.
The thing is, this backpack, as you said, continues. And now with my kids, I cannot imagine the idea of someone touching my kids.
Yeah.
And I get very aggressive.
You get worried about it.
I get worried.
Yeah.
So if my daughter comes back from school and she said maybe the teacher hit me or something, although it might be, she might deserve it.
Yes.
I feel that maybe something bad would happen. Maybe it will affect my daughter the same way it affected me.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, we have a switch button on in our head, and a lot of things that happen sometimes this button just goes on.
Yeah.
And then you react, and then you think, why did I react that much? And then you remember why. You have an explanation of why you react that much. Even when you say that maybe she deserves it, I doubt anyone deserves to get hit because they didn't understand something. There's a lot of other ways of doing it. But with you get the issue why it happens to you, because it's actually very good, because this happens and I react like this because of this. Some people don't know why they've reacted like that, and they sit for years thinking, why am I angry with this certain subject? And that's how things even get worse and worse. And you find them very anxious, very panicky, but they don't know why they are until they go to a therapist or something and dig really deep into it. But with you, it's very easy because you know the reason already.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
You need a napkin, Hatem?
See, he's emotionless. He's cold.
He's always like that.
He's cold.
I would like to ask a question about extremely angry children who are... There are children that I have seen that have a type of anger that you only see in adults. It's really strange. They become extremely angry, not only a little bit upset, if they play with the children and the children do not want to play with them, or if they are promised something and they're not given immediately, they become extremely verbal, extremely angry. And regardless of whom they talk to, they would talk to them in a very harsh manner. And there is nothing to calm them. Nothing. I've witnessed this, and I've seen a child talking to his parent the way a child would speak to his brother, but never to a parent. And I've asked the parent, have you tried to do anything, or you just leave him? He said, I can't do anything. I just leave him. Because he is extremely angry. When he becomes angry, nothing could stop him. It's like a hurricane. How can we deal with such a situation?
How old is he?
He's about 8.
And he's always been like this all his life?
Yes.
Or is it suddenly?
Very angry.
Since
always.
He was a child.
Always. He's extremely bright. He's very bright at school. He gets straight A's.
And how is he at school? Does he fight at school and get angry in school, or is it just at home?
I think he's even at school. Everywhere. That's
but
who
nobody
he is.
complains at school, or
They do. But sometimes the marks compensate for everything. They look at the marks and say, oh, he gets straight A's, he's good. So how do we deal with such children? Generally speaking.
If I had this, I'll call it a case. If I had this case, I would first sit with the parents and I'll dig into their background first and see how they brought him up from A. What was going on? Even when the mother was pregnant with the child, was there anything bothering her at the time? Things like this start from a very early age. We just don't know.
Even if they have a lot of children, he's not the only one. He's amongst, let's say, 6 children.
Yeah, it does make a difference. Maybe when it was with him, maybe something happened in the house. Maybe the mother wasn't happy when she was pregnant. There's a lot of things that could lead to this.
Yeah.
A child just doesn't get born angry. There's things that have been happening maybe in the environment. Maybe there's things you don't know about that, this child goes through, or something that this child has gone through and nobody knows about. And if he has so much anger like this is definitely, a question mark. It is not normal. if he's
So
this
it's-
angry.
So they should not leave him and just wait for it to fade away when he grows up.
No, definitely. They should get someone to intervene or take them even to a therapist just to make sure.
Yeah.
Because, no, it doesn't justify that he just has good marks. You know, here in Arabic we say at-tarbiyah wa-ta'aleem.
Yeah.
We say bringing up and education. You know, that's
Yeah.
even the name of the ministry. So it's not just education. Sorry, behavior maybe and education. It's the behavior. You could be the best person on earth. You know, I mean, you could be the cleverest person on earth, but you could have such a bad attitude that people don't want to deal with you. And you could be not that clever, you know, but you have such a lovely attitude that people just, you know, they love you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't justify. And I would definitely think twice about what is wrong, what is really wrong with the child. And actually, to get back to your question, you said that only one out of the 6 siblings are like this.
Yeah.
For example. That's even something else. Why only him?
Okay.
Why is it a syndrome that they all have it? You know?
When I
So-
spoke to the parent, he said, well, you know, his elder siblings also some sort of anger, although it's not consistent, it's not always the case, but when they get angry, they get really angry.
And how is the
Very
parents?
angry.
Do they get angry? How is this the father? Does he have the genes of getting very angry, or the mother?
He's cool as mint.
And the mother?
Same.
They're both very cool as mint.
Yes.
Maybe that, you know, that burning mint. You know, there's 2 kinds of mint. But yeah, there's a lot of things that one should dig in. I would definitely recommend that they consult someone.
Yeah, hopefully they're listening, and or otherwise I'll go and let them know, definitely,
Yeah.
inshallah.
You know, it's
Inshallah.
always good to consult.
Yeah.
It could be there's nothing, but at
Yeah.
least you know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you that normally as children we inherit a lot of character
Yeah.
from our aunts and uncles and
Yeah.
parents. Is it possible that we inherit some emotions from our parents
Oh, yeah.
or anger?
Definitely. I don't know, maybe you guys would know or heard about this certain families, you'd say in Oman. That family, all they're known, they're very sensitive. That family, all they're known, they're very angry. You know, that family,
Yes.
they're known, they're very, they have a lot of anxiety issues. So there is a part of it that is, look, as a human, you have so much parts in you.
Yeah.
You have parts that are genes, you have parts that are environment, you have parts that are you. You know, so there's a lot of things happening in your body. And when all these parts don't work together, that's when you become an unbalanced person.
Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Sayyidah Basma, for the enlightenment, and I've really learned a lot, and I'll try and work on my anger.
Inshallah. Well, you don't look like it, but work on your emotions.
I'll work on both.
Sayyida Basma bint Fakhri Al Saeed, thank you very much for today's session. And both me and Dr. Wael have really benefited from today's session. And our listeners, although they are sleeping today,
Today's a
we haven't heard
weekend.
from
And the
them.
last week of
But
Ramadan.
Yes.
I hope, inshallah, they listen to the repeat at 9
Inshallah.
p.m., inshallah.
I also actually have enjoyed coming here twice. I've also learned a lot.
Thank
This
you,
is what people don't get, that as therapists you learn from people. And then you're able to help others as well. So thank you also for your stories and being very open about them.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
Thank you.
Dear listeners, I leave you with the thought of today, Dr. Wael.
Which I haven't forgot. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, when he was asked, what Islamic traits are the best? The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said,
Peace be upon you.
feed the people and greet those whom you know and those whom you do not know. From me, Wael Al-Harrasi.
And Hatim Al-Absalam.
Assalamu alaikum.
The modern family. Let us bridge the gap between generations. Let us shape up the modern family. The modern family. Join the discussion and give us your feedback. Live with Hatim Al-Abdussalam and Dr. Wael Al-Harrasi. The modern family.